Hello, everybody. Welcome to Rake the Take, a golf betting podcast hosted by me, Chris Lewis. And this week we're going over the American Express and the Hero Dubai Desert Classic. Let's start off with the American Express since that's what probably most of you are here for. But yeah, no, I almost said the Dubai Desert Classic, but yeah, the American Express is a very interesting tournament. It's hard to evaluate because you have three different courses that they're playing, and those courses are the Pete Dye Stadium course, which they play twice, once in the three course rotation and on the final round on Sunday. And then you also have La Quinta Country Club and the Nicholas Tournament course. They're all par 72s, and I'd say that the skill sets that you need to be able to succeed at each course are pretty similar. For one, you kind of have to be a great driver of the golf ball. This is a tournament where, these courses are not very difficult per se. So, you can kind of see some variance in like the overall skill sets that do well here. But driving is definitely the one that kind of sticks out as the most predictive of those metrics. Obviously, you need to have a solid approach game and putting this week. I'd say that around the green is probably the least predictive of all the metrics. But hitting balls off the tee and having a good driver of the golf ball among your picks this week is paramount. Just because some of these courses are, they don't really have a lot of like punishing holes in terms of distance, so you can really kind of push the ball up there and create a lot of scoring opportunities that way. So yeah, like if you look at there's not really a single statistic that proves to be majorly difficult at this course. It's pretty easy, or at these courses, I should say. People are going to go very low. It's going to be a major birdie fest, without a doubt, as it usually is every year. But yeah, there's really not much more to say about the courses. They're not that interesting, to be honest with you. So let's just kind of get into the picks. For one, I really like Jonathan Vegas this week. And Jonathan Vegas has actually won at this tournament before, way back in 2011. And he's pretty old now. He's like 40 years old, but he's honestly kind of in a bit of a resurgence with his play lately. He won an event last season, and is just coming off of a top 5 finish at the Century Tournament of Champions, or the Century as it is called now. So he really played well. He's really playing well, kind of coming into the year. And obviously is coming off a season where he had just won. And playing at a course that he has historically had some great performances at. If you look throughout the whole history, there's some miscuts and things like that, but I think that's kind of normal for your average player kind of looking at the history of this event, because there are so many players and there's so much unpredictability with the courses that they're playing. It's not abnormal at all to see kind of a out of left field winner here. We're coming off of a season where last year Nick Dunlap won this event as an amateur before officially going pro. So with that in mind, it's, I don't really care too much about course history. Even though it does have an effect on what I'm looking at, in terms of just like what skill sets need to do well here. But overall, I care way more about current form and just the overall course fit, which I think Jonathan Vegas has. He's a great ball striker. He's one of the longest hitters on tour in terms of distance, and he's a phenomenal approach player. He's 80. He's in 85th percentile on approach, and then he's an 87th percentile driver of the golf ball. The short game obviously leaves a lot to be desired, but I think in a tournament like this, the short game metrics are really not going to be as predictive as you want them to be. Because you're going to have good ball strikers that have good putting weeks and things like that. But yeah, no, I think Vegas is a great pick for this week. Like I said, he's playing very well right now, and the ball striking is in really top form. I also really like Lee Hodges this week. Hodges is kind of coming off, I'd say, kind of a down year for what he did in 2023. In 2023, he won the 3M Open and showed a lot of signs of consistency on the PGA Tour. But in 2024, he still had some good results, like a top 20 at the PGA Championship, but then also had struggled through bits and pieces of the season until kind of in his last five, until we've kind of reached this point now. In his last five starts, he's finished in the top 20 in four of them, and he missed the cut at the Shriners. But outside of that, he has a tie for 8th at the Black Desert Championship, a tie for 16th at the Zozo, a tie for 5th at the RSM Classic, and a tie for 10th at the Sony Open in Hawaii. In this tournament previously, he has finished in the top 5 in 2022, where he finished tied for 3rd. He has 2 other missed cuts after that, but like I said, I'm really not reading too much into that. At least he's had some great success at this place, or at this event. Looking at Hodges' statistical profile, he is also a great driver of the golf ball. He's not as far as Vegas, but he's incredibly accurate off the tee, which I am also kind of rewarding players for this week. I did say that distance is definitely something that you need, but having a varied skill set can work well here. As long as you're able to, make the fairway, I think that's another big aspect too. It's like if accuracy can be another predictive measure at this course, I'd say distance is more so. But just having overall solid driving ability is definitely going to be a plus, no matter your distance. But yeah, he's also a great approach player, very good with his long irons. I think the biggest concern with him is the short game, but like I said with Vegas, like those metrics aren't as predictive around here, and so I don't really care. I like the fact that he's playing well, even though he's not really putting great. He has his ball striking metrics have been very consistent. He did gain 1.5 strokes putting at the Sony Open, which is good to see. So. Maybe the putter is kind of starting to run hot, and he does have the ball striking to back it up as well. So I like Lee Hodges this week. Both him and Vegas are at plus 8,000 odds to win this week, at least on my book. Maybe you can find a better number, but yeah, no, I like both those guys in this tournament. And then after that, I really like Kevin Yu. And similar to Vegas, very similar to Vegas, in fact, Yu is... was also a winner last season, but he's also a great ball striker, very good distance wise, and he's also fairly accurate for that distance as well. But yeah, on approach, he's very solid as well. 66th percentile on that, 91st percentile on driving. So he's a great driver of the golf ball. The short game with him is just very hit or miss, but he is coming off a very good season. In 2024, he had a total of, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 top tens. And that's not even including, 3 additional top 20s into that. So he had 8 top 20s, 5 top 10s, and 3 top 5s, including a win at the Sanderson Farms Championship. So, he is in good form right now. He played well at the RSM, he played well at the Zozo, and he won the Sanderson. So, I mean, those are pretty good results over your last six starts. He played okay at the Century, only a tie for 44th finish, and really didn't have a great putting week. But, I mean, he's never really played there before, so I wasn't really expecting like a great week that week. However, at the American Express, his ball striking numbers have been phenomenal, and last year he finished in the top five and a tie for third. So, I mean, I really like Kevin Yu at this course. It seems like it's a perfect fit for his game, um, where he can just kind of create a lot of opportunities and see what happens. And sees what happens, I should say. But yeah, he's at plus 9,000 for this week. And I think that's just a really solid number, especially given some of the course history and what we know about his profile. But yeah, those are my three guys for the American Express. I really feel confident about that. I was doing some statistical analysis for this week, and driving just really popped out as a major metric for this tournament. So I like those guys. They're good ball strikers. The short game is a little concerning, especially in a birdie fest, but I think that's why you're getting as much of a discount as you are on them. But yeah, no, I think those are very solid plays. Um, Outside of that, uh, I wouldn't, if you want to look at the top of the board, it's going to be tough because a lot of these guys are really priced down. You're not really going to get a ton of value on players at the top of the board. And because this tournament has so much variance, I wouldn't really recommend betting anybody who's a favorite this week. Just because like, you don't really see favorites win this event. Um, just because it plays out a lot like this. Like you'll have a guy who you don't expect who, shoots a low round of the week on, one course, and then you're playing the other course and it's, a little harder, and and so it's like there's just like random things like that where just based on certain days, if you catch the easiest course on the best day, um, that could really just catapult you into position to really contend. All right, let's move on to the Hero Dubai Desert Classic. The Hero Dubai Desert Classic takes place at the Emirates Golf Club. The Emirates Golf Club includes two courses in the whole club, but they're only playing at the Majlis Golf Course, um, which is also referred to as the Desert Miracle. It's a par 72, 7,300 yard course. So kind of similar to what they're playing at the Amex this week in terms of overall distance. Obviously, this is a desert course, so there is that's different, and some certain things like that. But overall, I mean, the key metrics are actually very similar. Um, Driving is very critical here, perhaps even way more critical than at the Amex. Distance is very predictive at this event. Um, Also, you kind of need good around the green game, and you need a good approach play. Putting is really not that predictive here at all, to be honest with you. So, I mean, if you got some team no putt guys you like to take, and they're playing at the Hero Dubai Desert Classic, and they can hit it far, I potentially would recommend taking those guys, but you never know. Um, but yeah, no, I mean this is an event where you typically, you see a lot of the top guys usually play pretty well when they come here. Rory's won this event back to back. Victor Hovland won this event a couple years ago in 2022. But you also, you have some surprise winners that come along every once in a while, like a Lucas Herbert or a Haotong Li in previous years. Um, so it can be there can be some variance in terms of who does well here, especially since you're playing in a DP World Tour esque field. There's going to be a lot of those kind of players that you don't even know. But you do have some big names coming in this week. You got Rory, you got Hovland, Adam Scott's in this event. He's played well here historically. Tyrrell Hatton's had some good weeks here. He's in this event. John Rahm's in this event, but he's actually never played this course before, which is kind of interesting. Patrick Reed has done well here previously in 2023. He finished second place. Him and Rory kind of had an interesting duel there down the stretch, which is always fun. Those two guys hate each other. But yeah, no, it's a cool event. I love these kind of this kind of year in terms of golf because you got golf right when I'm going to bed and golf when I wake up. So that's great. Who doesn't like that? But yeah, kind of that's pretty much what I got to say about the course. Not too much craziness going on in terms of the setup. Um, I have only one pick for this event just because I wasn't really finding a ton of value. When you look at the player list, um, the top guys are the top guys. Like you're not gonna, you shouldn't overthink that. I mean, obviously you can take a guy like a Dean Burmester could be interesting here. Minwoo Lee, Laurie Cantor's a guy that I kind of thought about, but don't really feel like that there's a ton of value in those picks. But if those were some other guys I would be thinking about kind of down the board, maybe a Tom McKibben, maybe a Nicholas Norgard is another player that's been kind of interesting lately. He has some good distance off the tee. Um, but I'm really not really taking any of those guys. The only player that I have this week is actually a guy who's never played here before. His name is Frederic Lacroix. Um, he's a French player, and he's been kind of up and coming over the past couple years. Um, he just kind of got off the Challenge Tour after a very successful 2023 season there. Coming on to the DP World Tour, he had some really good events kind of in the end of 2023 going into this season, including the Ras Al Khaimah Championship, which should be a similar condition to this week, or the Bahrain Championship. Um, but he won it in August, August 25th, actually, the day before my birthday. He won the Danish Golf Championship. Um, so he's coming off a good season. Um, for a player of his caliber, I should say. Um, and then, kind of in December, he had a tie for 21st, the Nedbank, and a tie for 28th at the Alfred Dunhill Championship. So he has some solid form kind of coming into this week. He's probably shouldn't be rusty, um, or too rusty. Uh, but yeah, overall his skill sets, he's a very good driver of the golf ball, has a healthy amount of distance off the tee, but is also very accurate, which you like to see. His other skill sets, he's pretty average on approach and pretty average around the greens. He's not a very good putter, but like I said, putting's really not a very predictive statistic here at all, so I wouldn't really care about that. Um, you can get Lacroix at around 200 to 1. Like I said, he's a big long shot for this week, but I love the value, especially given his driving ability. I think that should set up well for him here. He's playing well. Um, but yeah, outside of that though, I'm not too confident in anybody else. Um, you know, if there's really anybody at the top of the board that I would think about taking, it probably would be John Rahm. Because I think Rahm, uh, probably should be the favorite for this event. Um, just given how he was playing in the stretch of tournaments going into this week, or into this start, he played really well in September and October. Ever since the meltdown at the Olympics, he's been playing really well. I mean, overall, his strokes gained metrics have been very solid. Um, and he has coming off a couple wins on the Live Golf Tour. Um, even though Rory is coming off back to back wins, so it is kind of crazy to say that he should be. Oh, and Rory also won the DP World Championship, so you got to factor that in too. Um, so I mean, but in terms of overall skill set, though, I do think Rom does set up really well here. But I don't know. I just it's kind of weird. I have to think about if I do want to take him or not. Um, I still haven't fully decided yet. But if there's anybody that I would take at the top of the board, it probably would be John Rahm. But for right now, I'm sticking with Lacroix. I think he's a solid bet for this week, just in terms of value. But yeah, there's the podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have a great week.